Chapter 599. Encounter. Hello, today all desserts are 30% off. Would you like to take a look? Sorry to interrupt, but all desserts are 30% off, thank you. Welcome to the Love Live Maid Cafe, please come in, three of you. Hello, may I ask if you are interested in desserts and maids? At the entrance of the sparkling Maid Cafe, a figure dressed in a pink cat plush costume stood by the roadside, politely engaging with two passers-by while holding a stack of flyers. Xiaolan, it's a maid cafe. Should we go in and take a look? A blonde beauty in a maid outfit gazed at the cafe with sparkling eyes. Forget it, I haven't been paid this month, I don't have any money to go to a cafe, and besides they don't even understand what a maid is. Listen carefully, a maid is not just. Beside her, another bespectacled office worker with dead fish eyes carried a convenience bag, talking as he walked ahead. Watching the two passers-by leave, Lin Chia, dressed in the pink cat plush costume, let out a long sigh. Soon he approached another passerby and gently spoke. Hello, would you like to learn about the maid-themed cafe? Sorry, no need. Dingling. Before the passerby could finish speaking, a faint sound of wind chimes echoed in the air. The passerby's expression changed instantly. He quickly took a step back, knelt down in front of Lin Chia, pressing his forehead to the ground, his body trembling slightly. This sudden act of reverence left Lin Chia momentarily stunned. Holding the flyer, he awkwardly said, It's just a flyer, there's no need to be so apologetic. His voice quickly trailed off. Not only this passerby, but all the pedestrians on this street had knelt down the moment they heard the sound of the wind chimes. Even the customers and maid servers from the cafe rushed out, facing a certain direction, neatly kneeling at the entrance. In just a few seconds, apart from the pink plush cat, no one else was standing on this street. Lin Chia followed the direction they were kneeling towards and saw a man in a white robe slowly walking from the other side of the street, hands in his pockets amidst the halted traffic. The flickering neon signs on both sides reflected on the asphalt, casting colorful patches of light. Under the pitch-black night sky, the man's white robe was also illuminated in vibrant neon hues. He slightly raised his head and a white halo in his left eye rotated, quickly locking onto the pink plush cat nearby. His eyes narrowed. Found you, intruder. The pink plush cat raised its hand and gently removed the fluffy large head. Lin Chia held the head in his hand, frowning at the man in the white robe, his expression somewhat grim. He didn't know who this man in the white robe was, but judging by the reactions of others, he was definitely an existence that transcended social rules. And his target was himself. Who are you? Pure Land, Oracle Envoy number 3. Oracle Envoy? This was the first time Lin Chia had heard this title. From its literal meaning, it should refer to a messenger of the divine. Since the other party had already discovered him, he might as well take this opportunity to extract more information. Lin Chia shook his head. You've got the wrong person. I'm not an intruder. The Oracle Envoy sneered. The white halo in his left eye lit up again, and several photos were projected onto the asphalt, showing Lin Chia walking along the mountain road. Releasing your aura, provoking divine wrath and leaving traces of mental energy by the beach. Isn't that you? Not me. Lin Chia replied firmly. I wasn't wearing a trench coat. After saying that, he even patted the pink plush costume he was wearing. Oracle Envoy. Lin Chia certainly didn't expect the other party to believe his nonsense, but his goal had already been achieved. The reason he denied his identity was to determine the cause of his exposure through the other party's response. Initially, he thought it was because the divine had some automatic tracking power that left traces on him, allowing the other party to find him. But when the Oracle Envoy projected the surveillance photos, he realized their method of tracking was simply retrieving surveillance footage. However, it was indeed his own fault for not being careful. He originally thought this was just a fallen nation, and even if it was related to the divine, it wouldn't be so close. But he never expected that the divine would use surveillance to find him. Knowing the other party's tracking method, Lin Chia's heart felt somewhat steadied. If it's not you, then why aren't you kneeling like them when you see me? The Oracle Envoy pointed at the kneeling crowd around them. Why should I kneel to you? I am the Oracle Envoy. Oracle Envoy? A divine agent. Divine agent? The Oracle Envoy frowned slightly, seemingly unable to comprehend the meaning of this term. I merely convey the divine's will and manage the people of the mortal realm for them. A manager, not an agent. Lin Chia's mind raced. My appearance is the divine's will. Wherever I go, it is as if the divine is present. The divine has come and you do not kneel. Why should I kneel? The oracle envoy squinted at Lin Chia, and after a long while he sneered, You intruders are indeed all the same. You intruders? Lin Chia quickly caught the key point, his eyes brightening. Besides me, who else have you seen? Once I capture you, you will naturally see them. The oracle envoy lightly raised his hand, pointing a finger at Lin Chia. The ground beneath them instantly shattered, a terrifying chasm roaring forth as if an invisible giant blade sliced through the air, directly aimed at Lin Chia's throat. Although Lin Chia couldn't see this blade, his mental energy could clearly sense its presence. In fact, the moment he sensed the blade, his head throbbed slightly. The terrifying lethality contained in this invisible blade could even injure his mental energy. Lin Chia's figure darted to the side like a ghost, and although he couldn't use any forbidden techniques, the mental perception from Mortal Realm Divine Domain, and the agility from Starry Night Dancer, had already been imprinted in his body, becoming a part of him without attracting the gaze of mysterious eyes. Sizzle. Lin Chia had already moved at full speed, but he barely managed to evade the blade. The blade's light grazed his body, instantly tearing his pink plush costume apart. A snow-white long knife was drawn from the gap, and he swung it down towards the void in front of him. The blade of white slash ignored space and struck towards the oracle envoy's neck. Clang. The snow-white blade struck the oracle envoy's neck without any obstruction, producing a sound like metal clashing, as if it had struck something of extremely high hardness, leaving only a shallow white mark. Chapter 600. In the rain screen. Lin Chia's pupils slightly constricted. The body of the oracle envoy was composed of an unknown material that not only effortlessly blocked Lin Chia's slashing attack but also isolated any form of mental probing. Even when Lin Chia attempted to sense his physical structure with mental power, he could only be blocked outside of the envoy's skin. But it was certain that, to some extent, the oracle envoy was no longer a purely human being. After all, humans could not project surveillance images from their eyes. A cyborg? As this thought arose in Lin Chia's mind, the white-robed oracle envoy stepped forward. His stride was not large, yet in an instant he moved nearly 100 meters forward, directly flashing in front of Lin Chia. The white circle in his left eye instantly locked onto Lin Chia's face and the Zhanbai in his hand. A knife that can ignore space. Is it one of the 9 blades of Huijin? No, this blade has no blade soul. The oracle envoy frowned slightly, seemingly puzzled. He shook his head and sighed. The things in the hands of invaders are always so difficult to understand. In the next moment, his gaze sharpened and a terrifyingly powerful invisible slash coalesced in front of him, exuding a deadly aura. In an instant, Lin Chia swiftly positioned the Zhanbai horizontally in front of him. Boom! The invisible slash collided with the blade of Zhanbai, causing the entire sword to tremble violently. Strangely, Lin Chia did not feel any force transmitted through the hand gripping the hilt. It was as if all the slashes were forcibly channeled into Zhanbai, with not a trace leaking out. Zhanbai shook violently, emitting a piercing sound akin to 1,000 birds chirping in unison. Lin Chia frowned slightly, keenly sensing that something was amiss. At the same time, the white-robed oracle envoy raised his finger again. Lin Chia quickly dodged to the side, but the next moment, the oracle envoy's figure shifted back in front of him. His palm, like a ghost, gently pressed against the blade of Zhanbai, and with a flick of his finger, clang! A dull roar echoed like thunder through the bustling street. The violently trembling blade of Zhanbai suddenly halted, falling into an eerie silence, and then a series of visible fine cracks shattered open in the center of the blade. The snow-white blade, reflecting the neon signs from the street like a mirror, broke in the middle. Half of the blade trembled, radiating a dazzling halo, soaring into the pitch-black night sky, piercing into a nearby traffic light, and erupting in blinding sparks. Lin Chia gripped the half of Zhanbai, his pupils suddenly constricting. The blade was broken. The point of the break in the blade was precisely where the white-robed oracle envoy had flicked his finger. In just 2 moves he had severed Zhanbai, which was listed as one of the 12 ultra-high-risk treasures of the Bailey family, in half. How did he do that? In that instant, countless thoughts flashed through Lin Chia's mind, but the situation no longer allowed him to ponder further. The white-robed oracle envoy raised his hand, lightly drawing a line toward Lin Chia with his fingertip, and an overwhelming sense of life-and-death crisis instantly enveloped Lin Chia's heart. He no longer needed to worry about the mysterious gaze in the void, for if he did not use the forbidden ruins now, he would surely die here today. A shadow of night instantly enveloped his body, and the next moment he vanished from his original position. Night flicker. This was the forbidden ruins birthed from the essence of night left to him by Nyx. If the essence of night were likened to fertile soil, then this forbidden ruins was the first fruit to grow from that soil. As Lin Chia's figure flickered away, the place where he had stood was suddenly met with chaos. The two six-story commercial buildings behind him had all their windows shattered, and the central part of the structure was severed in half, as fragile as a paper house. The gruesome slash marks cleaved the two commercial buildings apart, and the massive structures crashed down with a deafening roar and a cloud of dust, crushing dozens of cars into scrap metal. Lin Chia stood behind the ruins of the buildings, gripping the half of Zhanbai, his expression extremely grave. From the mental pressure emanating from the Oracle Envoy, he should be a peak Klein-level powerhouse. Coupled with that strange and mysterious ability, his danger level rose sharply. Currently, Lin Chia was simply no match for him. Moreover, he was not the only enemy Lin Chia faced. Lin Chia looked up at the pitch-black night sky above. He could clearly sense that the mysterious gaze that had appeared earlier at the shallows was once again projecting from the void, searching for his whereabouts. Having just used night flicker, had drawn the attention of that mysterious presence again. If he continued to use the forbidden ruins, he would inevitably be locked onto. The wrath of the gods descends. If you continue to use those means of the invaders, you won't even need me to act. You will be obliterated by divine judgment. Today you cannot escape. The white-robed oracle envoy also sensed the gaze in the sky and said with a cold smile. Lin Chia silently looked at him, his eyes flickering with light as he seriously contemplated a way to break the deadlock. Using the forbidden ruins would attract the mysterious presence, leading to death. Not using the forbidden ruins would mean he couldn't escape from the Oracle Envoy's grasp, also leading to death. It was a deadlock. Just as Lin Chia was desperately pondering, a drop of rain suddenly fell from the clouds, landing on his shoulder and splashing into tiny droplets. Pitter-patter. It was raining? This drop of rain did not catch Lin Chia's attention, but across from him, the white-robed Oracle Envoy's brow furrowed slightly. He looked up, gazing at the sky as if searching for something. The second drop, the third drop, the fourth drop. A steady drizzle began to fall from the night sky, growing heavier by the second. In just a matter of seconds, it transformed from a light rain to a moderate rain, and then from moderate to heavy rain. The dense rain washed over the bustling city streets, quickly accumulating into puddles. A hazy mist spread through the air, gradually obscuring the vision of ordinary people, turning the night sky into a curtain of rain. The faint glow of neon lights was drowned by the rain, pouring onto the asphalt road like flowing rivers, reflecting in the rippling puddles, resembling dazzling pools of light, mesmerizing to behold. The white-robed Oracle Envoy stood in the rain, the water sliding off his clothes and onto the ground, leaving no trace of moisture. His expression darkened slightly. Lin Chia looked up at the sudden downpour, a look of confusion appearing in his eyes. This rain seemed a bit off. A figure darted across the sky. Lin Chia turned to look. At the top of the intersection of the bustling street, a massive screen emitted a rainbow glow in the dark rain, illuminating a portion of the sky. In front of the rolling screen, a figure stood silently in the rain, holding a paper umbrella. Chapter 601. Haruki Amamiya. The sound of rain poured down. The torrential rain drenched the paper umbrella painted with flowing clouds and wild cranes, transforming into lines of raindrops that slid off the edge of the umbrella. A boy dressed in a pure black kimono stood there, his face obscured by the edge of the umbrella, making it hard to see clearly. Beneath the loose collar, his well-defined collarbone accentuated a body that could be described as perfect, long and powerful. At his waist, a deep blue elongated Japanese sword was slanted. The screen on the tall building rolled again, returning to the wanted criminal reward image. A bright yellow wanted warning band encircled a handsome, refined photo of a young boy, illuminating the figure holding the umbrella beneath the rain-soaked screen, as if it were coated in a layer of bright yellow light. The edge of the paper umbrella slightly lifted, revealing a boy's face identical to that in the wanted poster, calmly appearing amidst the rain. The difference was that he looked more mature now, his gaze deeper. A faint scar marked his left jaw, adding a touch of coldness to his handsome face. His eyes were like a long blade cutting through the rain, calm yet exuding a chilling murderous intent. On the screen behind him a series of characters scrolled. Wanted, Haruki Amigumi, Demon, Level Wanted Criminal, Reward 10 million yen, Witness Report Reward 1 million yen. The white-robed oracle stood in the rain, his eyes narrowing slightly. One of the holders of the Kuzu 9 blades, Demon Level Wanted Criminal, Haruki Amigumi. He slowly pronounced the boy's name, somewhat surprised. You actually dare to appear before me? In front of the screen, Haruki Amigumi lightly leaped, his figure like a bird in the wind, gliding with the umbrella onto the asphalt road, his feet landing on the shimmering puddles, splashing a few sparkling droplets. He held the umbrella in his right hand, while his left hand rested on the hilt of the deep blue long sword at his waist, his gaze fixed on the white-robed oracle as he slowly spoke. Why wouldn't I dare? Not many mice are unafraid of cats. Cat. Haruki Amigumi replied coldly, I think it's more appropriate to call you dogs. The eyes of the white-robed oracle grew even colder. It seems that today, I have one more person to bring back to the Pure Land. The oracle spoke lightly, however, invaders can return alive to the Pure Land. Wanted criminals can only return as corpses. He gently raised his palm, the invisible blade that had previously sliced through the buildings swirling around him like a hurricane. Blade domain? Haruki Amigumi sensed the sharp aura permeating the air, his piercing eyes narrowing slightly. Unfortunately, this is ineffective against my blade. His left hand, resting on the hilt, slowly exerted force, revealing a deep blue blade, its edge like ink, emerging from its sheath, radiating a faint blue glow amidst the rain. The moment the sword was drawn, all the raindrops in the world suddenly froze in mid-air. The suspended raindrops seemed to have been paused, frozen in every corner of the bustling street, the sparkling droplets reflecting the surrounding shadows like curved, spherical mirrors. In the frozen rain, Haruki Amigumi gently set the paper umbrella aside, gripping the hilt with both hands, the blue glow emanating from the blade solidifying further. The fourth of the Kuzu 9 blades, Rain Collapse. Haruki Amigumi's gaze pierced through the countless suspended raindrops between the two, landing on the white-robed oracle. In the next moment, the invisible blades surrounding the oracle erupted simultaneously, transforming into an interwoven net of blades, slashing toward Haruki Amigumi's body. Haruki Amigumi pushed off with his feet, his figure darting out like an arrow. The surface of Rain Collapse flickered with a glimmer, and then his entire body vanished before the invisible blade net. At the moment he disappeared, the white-robed oracle's gaze sharpened, scanning the surroundings. Just then, in a droplet of water floating to his left, the shadow of a blade suddenly reflected. Haruki Amigumi flew out from the rain, a streak of deep blue blade light flashing under the street lamp, with several droplets of rain clinging to the blade like a thin film. The white-robed oracle's left hand shot up instantly, his fingertips bursting forth with a wave of invisible blade light, colliding with Rain Collapse at a single point. Clay. An invisible shockwave erupted centered on the two, the oracle's white robe rustling violently, yet his figure did not budge an inch. The sword in Haruki Amigumi's hand trembled violently but did not shatter like white slash. It merely hummed for a moment before returning to its original state. He gently stepped back half a pace, the blade flashing with a faint gleam. His figure vanished again, reappearing behind the oracle. The black kimono fluttered like a butterfly through the rain, disappearing as the deep blue blade light silently sliced through the air, resembling a wild dance in the rain. The black and white figures clashed at an astonishing speed in the rain, the blade light and invisible blades sparking in the air, their movements impossible to track with the naked eye. Lin Chie stood to the side, under the scrutiny of that mysterious gaze. He could not act rashly and could only quietly watch the chaotic battle before him. Finally, that mysterious gaze failed to find anything and vanished into the void. Almost simultaneously, Lin Chia swiftly raised his hand and pressed in the air, a brilliant magic circle intertwining in the air, and a red-haired girl in a blue caretaker's outfit leaped out. That gaze descended again and Lin Chia froze in place, activating the 1-2-3 wooden man mode. Instantly sketching the summoning magic circle with his mental power would inevitably attract the mysterious entity's scrutiny, but Lin Chia had no extra time to hand-draw the magic circle. He could only gamble on the time it took for the boy in the black kimono to hold off the oracle. To quickly escape this battlefield, there were only two choices: either fly away using Cloud Somersault, or ride Hong Yen to burrow underground. However, Cloud Somersault required continuous use of the Forbidden Ruins, meaning that no matter where he flew, that mysterious gaze could track his position. Thus, his only choice was to summon Hong Yen. Hong Yen was originally a flame-vein earth dragon. Even without using the Forbidden Ruins, she could rely on her innate ability to burrow underground, avoiding the gaze of the mysterious entity. As Lin Chia stood like a statue, evading the search of the mysterious gaze, he communicated with Hong Yen through his thoughts. Hong Yen nodded, her feet stomping heavily on the ground, shattering the pavement beneath her, and she shot toward the white-robed oracle like a cannonball. When Hong Yen was first summoned into the mental hospital by Lin Chia, she was at the peak of the sea realm. Now, upon reappearing, she had broken through her bottleneck and entered the infinite realm. With her formidable racial talent, her physical strength alone could barely contend with the Klein realm. What was originally a one-on-one duel transformed into a two-on-one situation with Hong Yan's fierce entrance. Chapter 602: The Identity of the Intruder. The appearance of Hong Yen caused both combatants to pause in surprise. When Ayumi Haruhikari saw Hong Yen swinging her fist directly at the face of the white-robed oracle, she decisively took a half-step back, while the oracle's expression darkened as he raised his fist to collide with Hong Yen. Boom! The two fists clashed in the air, and in terms of sheer power, Hong Yen was clearly at a disadvantage. The physical strength of the white-robed oracle was evidently beyond that of an ordinary human. Hong Yen staggered back a few steps, her expression darkening. She shook her pale wrist, her dark yellow vertical pupils filled with an endless dragon's might, like golden flames dancing in her eye sockets. The white-robed oracle only took half a step back, his left eye's light ring locking onto the red-haired woman in the blue caregiver uniform, an electronic voice echoing in his mind. Unknown target detected, analyzing. Analysis failed. No information on this species found in the biological database. The white-robed oracle furrowed his brow tightly. Where did this thing come from? He had no time to ponder further, as Ayumi Haruhikari's blade was once again before him. Lin Chia stood to the side, communicating with Hong Yen through thought. Hong Yen, see if you can use the Forbidden Ruins. Hong Yen was momentarily taken aback, then nodded. After exchanging another punch with the white-robed oracle, she turned to Ayumi Haruhikari and said, "You step aside." Ayumi Haruhikari was taken aback, narrowing his eyes in confusion. He couldn't understand Hong Yan's Chinese. Hong Yen chose to ignore him, standing in a puddle, opening her mouth as strands of scorching flame energy began to gather before her. Suddenly, her energy faltered, and the flames that had coalesced before her dissipated in an instant. Lin Chia keenly sensed that the mysterious gaze searching around him had shifted, now focusing on the area near Hong Yen. Indeed, the mysterious Forbidden Ruins could not be activated here either, meaning that any activation of the Forbidden Ruins by living beings would attract the attention of that existence? Lin Chia pondered. Seeing Hong Yen suddenly standing still, Ayumi Haruhikari frowned slightly, and then several invisible blades sliced through his body, reducing the dense buildings behind him to rubble. Under these seemingly endless blades, nothing appeared to be uncuttable. Ayumi Haruhikari gripped the hilt of his blade, a glimmer flashing in his eyes as if he were contemplating something. Finally, he slowly raised his weapon, the rain collapse, and forcefully plunged it into the ground beneath him. The ground was a puddle. The deep blue blade pierced the puddle as if melting, sinking all the way to the hilt. At the same time, blue light burst forth from beneath his feet. Boom! All the raindrops suspended in the air suddenly rolled back toward the sky, transforming into a massive, menacing water dragon that coiled behind the black-clad boy, silently roaring at the white-robed oracle. Water Dragon Sky Screen. He spoke in a low voice, and the next moment, the water dragon behind him surged forward, radiating blue light as it crashed toward the white-robed oracle. The white-robed oracle's eyes narrowed slightly, and his hands, which hung naturally at his sides, slowly lifted. Invisible blades swirled around him, intertwining to form a domain of lethal intent. As the water dragon roared, his white robe fluttered. His hands suddenly pressed together, producing a crisp clap. The invisible blades surrounding him surged toward the rapidly approaching water dragon like a storm, but just as these blades were about to touch the dragon's body, a flash of blue light appeared, and the entire water dragon disintegrated into a torrential downpour, falling apart. The sharp and swift raindrops formed a seamless canopy, enveloping the white-robed oracle's body. Even as the invisible blades shredded this canopy into pieces, a significant amount of rain still pelted against him. The white-robed oracle's pupils constricted. The torrential rain submerged his figure in the street, and amidst the chaos, deep dragon roars echoed in the air, with splashing droplets washing over the bustling street, the hazy mist nearly obscuring everything. Moments later, a whirlwind erupted from the center of the rain curtain, flinging away all the subsequent raindrops. The white-robed oracle stepped through the thick puddle, emerging from the mist. His white robe was tattered and full of holes, but aside from some white marks on his body, he bore no wounds. His expression was somewhat angry as he scanned his surroundings. This street was now completely empty. Ayumi Haruhikari, the red-haired girl, and the intruder had all vanished without a trace. He stood alone in this misty street. "Have they escaped?" he murmured to himself, his fists unconsciously clenching. Yokohama City outskirts. A massive figure emerged from the ground, nearly obscuring a small mountain. After its appearance, the figure quickly shrank and soon vanished without a trace. At the foot of the mountain, shrouded in night, 3 figures stood quietly. Hong Yen, dressed in a caregiver uniform, stood respectfully behind Lin Chia, her fiery long hair cascading down to her waist, resembling a dutiful maid, silent. Lin Chia was examining the boy in the black kimono before him. "Why did you save me?" Lin Chia asked in Japanese. Ayumi Haruhikari glanced at him and replied calmly, "It was on the way." "Lin Chia, I can sense that you are actually quite strong. Even if you can't defeat the oracle, escaping unscathed shouldn't be difficult. It's just that after arriving here you can't use your powers," Ayumi Haruhikari said indifferently. "Intruders are all like this." "You've seen other intruders?" Lin Chia's eyes brightened. "I saw one 2 years ago," he said. "When I had just become the master of the Katsu 9 swords, I traveled with him for a while. He had immense power hidden within him but couldn't fully unleash it here." 2 years ago, Lin Chia frowned. What were his characteristics? Yumi Haruhikari pondered for a moment. He carried a straight sword at his waist, a blade shape I had never seen before. When he used his power, black flames would erupt from his body, exuding a terrifying aura, and he seemed particularly interested in mature, voluptuous women. Chao Yuan. Upon hearing the last sentence, Lin Chia instantly locked onto that name. What was his name? Chao Yuan. Ayumi Haruhikari awkwardly pronounced the 2 syllables. Lin Chia's brow immediately furrowed. Using a straight sword emitting black flames, exuding a terrifying aura with a penchant for mature women, and the name sounding so similar, it could be confirmed that this person was indeed Chao Yuan. But the timeline doesn't match up? 2 years ago they shouldn't have been here yet, right? How could they have come here and become intruders? Chapter 603. Under Divine Authority. Then what? Have you heard of any other invaders? No, Ayumi Haruhiko shook his head. I've only heard rumors about the appearance of invaders, but I've never seen one. How many? From what I've heard, probably 2. How much time was there between their appearances? Half a year. 7 or 8 months. I'm not sure. Lin Chia fell into deep thought. Chao Yuan became the first invader about 2 years ago, and then another invader would appear every 6 months or 7 or 8 months. These invaders are all members of the Nightfall Squad. Does that mean it has been at least 2 years since they were scattered by the white-haired king? But why is there such a large time gap between each person's arrival? Where were the others during the time they disappeared? The more Lin Chia thought about it, the more perplexing it became. Later, what happened to the first invader you saw? Lin Chia continued to ask. I don't know. After that, I went into seclusion for a while and never saw him again. Lin Chia sighed helplessly. The clues about Chow Yuan had completely run dry, but at least he knew that other team members had already arrived in this country, perhaps even earlier than himself. He wondered where they were now. With a language barrier, the forbidden ruins unavailable, and the need to evade the Oracle envoys and police while living in this unfamiliar country, it was certainly not an easy task. You're a native here. Why did you end up with the invaders? Shouldn't you be enemies? Lin Chia voiced his confusion. Ayumi Haruhiko calmly gazed into Lin Chia's eyes, remained silent for a long time and then slowly spoke. To me there is only one enemy. Who? Ayumi Haruhiko extended his hand and pointed to the night sky above, his deep and cold eyes radiating killing intent as he uttered two words. Divine authority. Lin Chia raised his eyebrows slightly. Ayumi Haruhiko turned around and looked at the neon-lit night sky in the distance. What do you think of this country? It's lively, prosperous and interesting. Is that all? Lin Chia fell silent for a moment, images flashing through his mind. The number on Yuzurina, the pure land floating above Tokyo, and the scene just moments ago where everyone in the street knelt down to welcome the Oracle envoy. Also, pitiful. He slowly uttered these two words. Ayumi Haruhiko's hand gripping the hilt of the rain-collapsed sword tightened unconsciously, veins bulging on the back of his hand, and a hint of sorrow appeared in his eyes. Back then that invader said the same thing. To me it's like a puppet dressed in splendid garments wearing a smiling mask. No matter how beautiful it looks on the outside, it's just a toy manipulated by others. Or perhaps it's not even worthy of being called a toy. Under divine authority, the people here are truly too lowly. But the people here have been indoctrinated with the idea of divine authority being supreme since birth. They don't even realize that there's anything wrong, believing their lowliness is only natural. That's the saddest part. Ayumi Haruhiko took a deep breath and helplessly closed his eyes. This country is too sick. Only blood and blades can cut away its disgusting tumor called divine authority. Lin Chia looked at Ayumi Haruhiko with some surprise. He had originally thought that in such a society dominated by divine authority, after 4 generations of indoctrination, the people here would be completely numb and have lost the thought of resistance. Now it seemed that this idea was too absolute. Even in such an environment, there are still a very few people who awaken, breaking free from rigid thinking to contemplate the contradiction between divine authority and human rights. Most importantly, they have the courage to put into practice what everyone else considers to be a heinous idea, steadfastly moving forward despite the treacherous path ahead. I understand now. Lin Chia nodded thoughtfully. The reason you saved me is that you believe in the eyes of divine authority, we invaders are evil, and you rebels are also evil, so we are on the same side. Perhaps our ideologies differ, but our enemies are the same. Ayumi Haruhiko nodded slightly. Helping you creates trouble for the Pure Land, and that's what I want. Lin Chia smiled. No wonder they have listed you as a fierce ghost-level wanted criminal with a bounty of 10 million yen. By the way, what exactly is a fierce ghost? You're an outsider, so it's normal not to understand the classification of wanted criminals. Ayumi Haruhiko explained. All wanted criminals are classified into 4 levels based on their threat level: Yasha, Hunting Sparrow, Fierce Ghost, and Extreme Evil. Yasha represents ordinary level wanted criminals, usually those who commit intentional murder, arson or other heinous crimes and are key targets for police departments. Hunting Sparrow is a more serious level than Yasha, with charges such as mass murder, dismemberment, inciting terrorist attacks, burning important locations, promoting cults, or being the leader of a violent gang. Whenever they appear, large-scale police forces must be mobilized to hunt them down, which is within the scope that the police can barely handle. Fierce Ghost is completely different. This level of wanted criminals is deemed capable of significantly shaking social stability or possessing extremely dangerous powers, capable of easily destroying an area and breaking the existing order, such as the wielder of the Katsuji 9 blades. They can only be captured by Oracle envoys. Ordinary police forces cannot pose any threat to them. Extreme evil level wanted criminals are defined as capable of causing massive casualties, shaking the foundations of society, challenging divine authority, and possessing the potential to destroy a nation. Whenever an extreme evil level wanted criminal appears, all Oracle envoys will join forces to hunt them down, mobilizing national resources to capture them. Extreme evil. Lin Chia murmured these two words, his eyes narrowing slightly. How many Oracle envoys are there in total? 7. Ayumi Haruhiko paused and added, each of them has reached the pinnacle of a certain path. In this country, apart from a very few Katsuji blade wielders, they are the strongest beneath the divine. Lin Chia's mind conjured the image of the white-robed Oracle envoy from earlier. In terms of realm, he was indeed a peak Klein-level expert, but in some aspects he surpassed anyone Lin Chia had ever seen who was a Klein. Not to mention Klein, even the pinnacle of humanity might not be able to break the white slash. And once one becomes an extreme evil level wanted criminal, they would be besieged by the 7 Oracle envoys? That was somewhat terrifying. Without reaching the pinnacle of humanity, it seemed no one could withstand it. There's one more question. Lin Chia seemed to have thought of something. Since the forbidden ruins can't be used here, how did you just control so much rain? Was it through a forbidden object? Forbidden object? Ayumi Haruhiko seemed unable to comprehend these two words. After hesitating for a moment, he pointed to the deep blue long sword at his waist. Do you know about the Katsuji 9 blades? Chapter 604, The Calamity Blade. Beneath the pitch-black mountain, 2 youths walked along the winding mountain path toward the edge of the city, the dim streetlights casting elongated shadows on them. I don't know, Lin Chia shook his head. Do you know about the Tianjin gods and the Kunitsukami? I know about that. During the training camp, the instructor specifically talked about the mythological system of Japan. Generally speaking, Japanese deities can be divided into 2 factions. The orthodox gods led by Amaterasu who reside in Takamagara, known as the Tianjin gods, and the indigenous gods led by Okinanushi who dwell among humans known as the Kunitsukami. From the very beginning, the Tianjin gods residing in Takamagara sought to conquer the human realm, igniting wars multiple times. The 2 factions fought for a long time until Amaterasu sent down Take Minakata to the human world, who slaughtered his way to the foot of the imperial city, conquering Japanese territory, while the Kunitsukami gradually weakened and disappeared from the human realm. After the defeat of the Kunitsukami, Okinanushi, unwilling to accept defeat, secretly commanded his subordinate Kunitsukami to forge 9 blades imbued with divine power. It is said that these 9 blades contain the great power of the Kunitsukami, capable of cutting through Takamagara and avenging the Tianjin gods. As Amamiya Harai spoke, he rubbed the deep blue hilt at his waist with his palm. These 9 blades were not fully forged when Take Minakata conquered the human realm, and the Kunitsukami scattered, leaving the 9 divine blades lost to the world, their whereabouts unknown. Because they were forged by the Kunitsukami as blades of vengeance, possessing extraordinary power, they were regarded as taboo by the gods of Takamagara. The gods proclaimed to the people that these 9 blades were symbols of disaster, and their bearers would suffer extreme misfortune, hence they are also known as the Kuzutsukiyu blades. The one in my hand is the 4th of the Kuzutsukiyu blades, Yubeng. Lin Chia's gaze fell upon the enchanting deep blue long sword, a look of understanding appearing in his eyes. The source of power was not within himself but in this sword. No wonder it wouldn't be detected by that mysterious entity. Looking at it from another angle, could it be that the Kuzutsukiyu blades, while possessing terrifying power, could also evade the perception of that mysterious existence? In an environment where he couldn't use the forbidden ruins, Lin Chia's situation was perilous. If he could obtain a Kuzutsukiyu blade, it would mean he would have an additional means of self-protection. Are there a total of 9 such blades? Lin Chia asked tentatively. Where are the others? Amamiya Harai glanced at him, seemingly seeing through his intentions, and shook his head. If you're thinking of stealing a blade, I advise you to abandon that thought. Do you know why your sword was broken by the Sword Shrine Heart domain, while mine wasn't? Why? Because the Kuzutsukiyu blades all possess a sword soul. Amamiya Harai exerted a slight force with his left hand holding Yubeng, pushing the hilt forward slightly, revealing a glimmering deep blue blade to the air. At the same time, the ground beneath Amamiya Harai rippled with a wave, as if stepping on a puddle, the water's surface clearly reflecting the surrounding environment. In this mirrored world, a figure overlapped with Amamiya Harai's reflection. It was a man in white clothes with white hair, holding an ancient paper umbrella, quietly standing in the rain, his head bowed, his cold eyes gazing through the puddle into Lin Chia's eyes. The black-clad Amamiya Harai and the white-clad figure with the umbrella perfectly overlapped across the water's surface, each appearing as the other's shadow, their gazes nearly identical. Lin Chia stood frozen in place. Amamiya Harai sheathed yubing, and the reflection on the water's surface instantly vanished. The street light above illuminated the asphalt road, casting a faint yellow glow, making everything that just happened seem like a mere illusion. I saw your sword. It possesses incredible abilities, but unfortunately, it is dead. Amamiya Harai's gaze fell on the broken half of Zhanbai, in Lin Chia's hand. The Oracle's sword Shrine Heart domain can infuse high-frequency slashes into any object without loss. Any weapon made of material cannot survive his high-frequency slashes. It is the nemesis of all weapons, known as Weapon Calamity. That is the path he has taken to the peak. But he cannot break the Kuzutsuki blade because that sword is alive. It can digest the slashes and cannot be broken. Similarly, it cannot be stolen. Even if you manage to take it, you won't be able to draw it from its sheath without earning its recognition. Lin Chia sighed deeply. A sword soul, huh? It seemed that forcibly taking a Kuzutsuki blade was not feasible. He didn't believe he could gain any sword soul's recognition. After all, he was just a complete outsider. Now that Zhanbai had been broken by the Oracle, it meant that apart from his summoning technique, his only other special means had also completely failed, making the situation even worse. If you want to repair it, I know someone, Amamiya Harai suddenly spoke. Lin Chia shook his head. This is not an ordinary sword. This was not an ordinary sword. It was a highly dangerous forbidden object, not something that could be fixed with glue. Repairing it was no easy task. I know, Amamiya Harai said. But that person can even repair Kuzutsuki blades. Fixing yours shouldn't be too difficult. Lin Chia glanced at the deep blue long sword at his waist, deep in thought. After hearing Amamiya Harai's introduction, he understood that the so-called Kuzutsuki blade was far more advanced than an ordinary highly dangerous forbidden object. Not only did it possess astonishing power, but it also had its own sword soul. In a sense, it was alive. If the person he mentioned could really repair the Kuzutsuki blade, then fixing Zhanbai might not be impossible. To be honest, Lin Chia found this sword quite handy. It would be a pity to just give up on it. Seeing Lin Chia still hesitating, Amamiya Harai paused for a moment before speaking again. Perhaps he can also help your sword cultivate a sword soul. Upon hearing this, Lin Chia looked up in confusion. Cultivate a sword soul? Aren't only Kuzutsuki blades supposed to have sword souls? Theoretically, yes, Amamiya Harai continued. But this is mainly because ordinary swords cannot bear a sword soul. However, your sword is not an ordinary sword. It comes from outside this country, so it may not be impossible for it to cultivate a sword soul. But this is just my speculation. Whether it can cultivate a sword soul will depend on whether that person can see it. Lin Chia did not rush to respond. He simply looked quietly into Amamiya Harai's eyes. Why are you so eager to help me? He asked, puzzled. If it's just to create trouble for Pure Land, your goal has already been achieved. Amamiya Harai paused for a moment before slowly speaking. I want to make a deal with you. Chapter 605. The 7 Lucky Gods. What's the deal? If I can help your sword gain a soul, I hope you can accompany me to a certain place. Amamiya Haruki's expression was filled with seriousness. Lin Chia felt a bit relieved upon hearing this. For a stranger, a straightforward and clear transaction was far more reassuring than inexplicable goodwill. What place? I can't tell you yet, but it's a bit dangerous there, and the Kazuki sword cannot be used. So, you want me to protect you? Lin Chia instantly understood Amamiya Haruki's intention. Amamiya Haruki's power came from the Kazuki sword. If its abilities were restricted in a certain place, then his situation would be no different from Lin Chia's in Japan. He would need someone who could exert power without the Kazuki sword to protect him. And he, as an outsider, was the best choice. Exactly. Amamiya Haruki continued. You don't have to rush to refuse me. We can decide after we find that person and confirm whether he can repair the sword and grant it a soul. Lin Chia pondered for a moment and nodded. All right, we'll talk about it then. Upon hearing his response, Amamiya Haruki relaxed slightly. When are we leaving? Lin Chia asked. Before we go, I have some matters to attend to. Amamiya Haruki thought for a moment. In 2 weeks, go to the fishing boat tea house in Shinsaibashi, Osaka. Put a 50 yen coin in the potted plant on the left as you enter, and I will come to find you. Okay. Lin Chia felt a bit emotional. As expected of a wanted criminal at the fierce ghost level, even the way to connect was so meticulous. Seeing Lin Chia agree, Amamiya Haruki nodded slightly and turned to walk toward the dark mountain. At that moment, Lin Chia's voice rang out again. Wait. Amamiya Haruki stopped and turned to look at him in confusion. Are we allies now? Lin Chia said seriously. Amamiya Haruki thought for a moment. I suppose so. Lin Chia nodded, extended his hand and said solemnly. Lend me some money. Welcome to visit again. As the clerk's sweet voice faded, Lin Chia pushed open the convenience store door, carrying a large bag of items and walked straight out. Now Lin Chia had completely changed his appearance. He wore a plain blue hoodie over his clothes, the hood obscuring the outline of his face. He kept his head down and wore a black mask that covered half of his face. As for the black trench coat that Nix had given him, it had blended into the night, making it nearly invisible from the outside. The only downside of this disguise was that whenever he walked behind a woman, he would be scrutinized with extreme caution, as if he were some kind of perverted stalker. The left eye of the oracle seemed modified, and Lin Chia knew that his appearance had likely been captured on camera. If it weren't for the inability to use the Forbidden Ruins, he would have already used transformation magic to completely change his appearance and physique. But given the current situation, he could only resort to this simplest form of disguise. Even so, he still deliberately avoided all surveillance cameras. Fortunately, this area was considered the outskirts of Yokohama, and the cameras were not very dense, making it relatively easy to evade them. Carrying a whole bag of food and daily necessities, Lin Chia glanced at the lightning sky and, after hesitating for a moment, walked in a certain direction. Outskirts container. Little Yuli, what day is it today? Under the dim light, Grandma Tsuru, who was folding paper cranes, seemed to remember something and asked hoarsely. Beside her, Yuli Na was squatting in the corner of the mattress, reaching into the cotton stuffing to dig for something while thinking. It should be Sunday. Sunday, huh? Grandma Tsuru put down the paper crane in her hand and gazed at the container's door with cloudy eyes. Are we not going to pay respects to the fortune god this week? Yuli Na was taken aback, her face showing some hesitation. This week. Grandma Tsuru noticed her hesitation and asked curiously, What's wrong, little Yuli? Didn't you used to go pay respects to the fortune god every week? No, it's nothing. Yuli Na lowered her head and began to think seriously. Paying respects to the fortune god was a habit she developed long ago when her mother was still alive, taking her to the shrine to pray for blessings. According to her mother, only by sincerely praying to the fortune god regularly could he hear people's wishes and bestow them with blessings, keeping them safe from evil spirits. Even now, she still maintained this habit, but yesterday's events left her a bit dazed, and she had forgotten that today was the day to pay respects to the fortune god. So should she go or not? Logically, the police had searched for her all day yesterday and should have given up on the pursuit by now. Moreover, the shrine was only 2 streets away, so there shouldn't be any issues. But her worries extended beyond just the police. After much internal struggle, she finally nodded. Perhaps, as her mother said, only by sincerely praying to the fortune god could he hear her wishes and protect them from the clutches of demons. Let's go, she said, then added, Grandma Tsuru, please wait for me. Yuli Na pulled out a small wooden box from the cotton stuffing of the mattress, forcefully opened the lid, revealing a collection of loose coins and a few old bills, totaling about 9,000 yen. This was all their savings. After confirming the money was all there, Yuli Na let out a slight sigh of relief, took out 1,000 yen to keep on her person, then stood up and walked to the chair, helping the unsteady Grandma Tsuru up before opening the door to step outside the container. The two slowly made their way down the deserted road. Under the azure sky, a few birds flapped their wings and flew over their heads, and the warm sun shone down on Grandma Tsuru, causing her eyes to squint into slits. What a lovely day, little Yuli. A smile blossomed on her wrinkled face, a rare sight. Yes, it seems like it rained heavily last night. Heavy rain at this time of year is quite rare. In the rain-washed city, a faint scent of earth lingered, especially near the outskirts. The two, dressed in kimonos and wooden sandals, walked along the street toward the city. After about 20 minutes of walking, Yuli-na helped Grandma Tsuru arrive at a shrine bustling with activity. For the residents here, different jobs, stages, and purposes required different deities to be worshipped. For example, students about to take exams usually prayed to the god of learning, Sugawara no Michizane. Couples about to marry typically worshipped the god of love, and for ordinary people the most commonly worshipped deities were the 7 lucky gods. The god of fortune and blessings, Daikokutin, the god of wealth, Ebisu, the god of infinite wisdom, Bishamonten, the god of wealth and prosperity, Benzaten, the god of good fortune, Fukurokuju, the god of longevity, Jurajin, the god of good luck, Hote. Here they could worship different deities, but they could not afford to not believe in the gods. Chapter 606. Ghost-Catching Game. The elderly woman and the young girl slowly walked to the entrance of the shrine, bowing deeply before the vermilion torii gate in respect. Afterward they stood up, passed through the torii and approached a water basin called Temazuya. They used the wooden ladles inside to scoop water, wash their hands and rinse their mouths before finally walking towards the statue of Daikokutin, the chief of the 7 lucky gods. In front of the statue, a long line had already formed. The clear sound of the hanging bells echoed throughout the shrine as the two moved forward with the queue, eventually arriving before the statue of Daikokutin. Yurina and Grandma Tsuru stood side by side, first bowing lightly before the statue. Then Yurina reached up to grasp the hanging bell and gave it a gentle shake. Ding! The bell rang and she took a 5-yen coin from her pocket, placing it into the offering box, symbolizing her connection with the deity. They looked up at the statue of Daikokutin, then bent down, bowing deeply twice. They extended their hands and clapped twice in front of them before bowing deeply once more. Kind and powerful god of fortune Daikokutin, please accept our prayers. You are the warrior from the other shore, the nemesis of all evil, bringing peace and happiness to the world, dispelling all misfortune and ill omens. Please keep us away from calamity and misfortune, grant us happiness and hope. May your blessings shine upon the earth. After finishing her prayer, Yurina slowly straightened up. Beside her, Grandma Tsuru remained bent over, her silver hair cascading beside her aged cheeks. She whispered in a voice only she could hear. I hope little Yurina can have a happy and beautiful future. Yurina didn't catch what Grandma Tsuru was saying. She gently tugged at Grandma Tsuru's sleeve and said softly, Grandma Tsuru, we should go now, there are others waiting in line. Grandma Tsuru stood up and smiled at her, then walked back with her. As they reached the entrance of the shrine, Yurina noticed 4 or 5 figures across the street, huddled together, lighting cigarettes, talking and scanning the surroundings as if searching for something. Yurina's heart suddenly raced when she saw them. Grandma Tsuru looked at her in confusion and asked, Yurina, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell? No. I'm fine. Yurina's face turned a bit pale. After a moment of silence, she looked up at Grandma Tsuru seriously and said, Grandma Tsuru, I want to buy something from a nearby shop. Can you go back by yourself? Grandma Tsuru was taken aback. Can you go back first, please? Yurina repeated, her expression growing anxious. Okay. Grandma Tsuru didn't understand what was happening but nodded. Yurina forced a smile, waved goodbye to Grandma Tsuru, and quickly ran towards the small shop next to the shrine, her figure gradually disappearing from Grandma Tsuru's sight. Though Grandma Tsuru felt puzzled, she shook her head and stepped forward, walking out of the shrine. She passed through the vermilion torii and walked onto the street, slowly and unsteadily heading towards the direction of the containers. At that moment, the men across the street turned their gaze towards Grandma Tsuru, then quickly shifted their focus back to the entrance, taking a deep drag from their cigarettes and cursing. Weren't we told that girl went into the shrine? Why hasn't she come out yet? One of the guys saw her. She went in with an old lady, so it should be right. This shrine has only one exit and the walls are high all around. She can only come out this way. There's no other route. Just wait a bit longer, she should be out soon. At the shrine, Yurina cautiously peeked out from the small shop, seeing the figures across the street, her face immediately falling. Why are they still there? She murmured to herself. Yurina scanned her surroundings. The shrine was surrounded by white walls. Not to mention a little girl like her, Even two adult men standing on each other's shoulders might not be able to climb over. There were no trees around, making it impossible to escape by climbing over the wall. So, I can only go out the front door. She frowned at the figures, her eyes flickering as if deep in thought. Hey little girl, what are you standing there for? Are you buying something? If not, don't block the way for others. The shopkeeper, noticing Urena lurking at the entrance without buying anything and blocking other customers, was immediately annoyed. Urena turned around and made a shoe gesture to him, her gaze sweeping across the shop. After hesitating for a moment, she nodded firmly. I'll buy something. Ske, how long has it been since they went in? Why are they still not out? The fierce man sitting across the street stood up impatiently. Let's just rush in and find her. Bro, you can't go crazy. Causing a scene in a shrine is a serious crime. We're gangsters. Our heads are on the line and we're afraid of getting caught by the police? Bro, this is different. Just as the leading fierce man was about to say more, a young man suddenly stood up. Look. She seems to be coming out. Everyone turned to look and they saw a small figure in a black raincoat rushing down the steps quickly, running towards the other side of the street. The fierce man was taken aback. She must have spotted us and is trying to confuse us with this trick. What a child's play. He sneered, chase after her. As soon as he finished speaking, 3 more small figures in black raincoats rushed down the steps, laughing and playing as they ran in the opposite direction. The 4 figures in black raincoats looked identical, and they were running so fast that it was hard to see their faces. This sudden turn of events left the men frozen in place. Bro, which one should we catch? The young man asked in confusion. Damn it, split up and chase. The fierce man took off towards the 3 children, then seemed to think of something and stopped. No, you guys split up and chase, I'll stay here and keep watch. Okay. The other thugs scattered, chasing along both sides of the street. The fierce man hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and strode into the shrine to search. There shouldn't be any conflict in the shrine. If he just took a look around it should be fine, right? After thoroughly searching the shrine he still couldn't find Urena. Frustrated, he scratched his head and cursed a few times. Just then his phone rang. Hello. Bro, I caught the kid who came out alone at first. It's a boy, not that girl. Idiot. What the hell is going on? This little boy said that just now a girl about his age wanted to play ghost catching with them and even gave each of them 2 lollipops, saying it would be more fun to play in raincoats. Chapter 607. Do you want to live? On the other side. 3 children in raincoats quickly ran across 2 streets, laughing and chatting about something. Behind them 2 men jumped over the railing and rushed after them. Hey, you little brats in front, stop right there. One of the men, with a scar on his face, roared fiercely, his voice booming and instantly reaching the ears of the 3 children in raincoats. 2 of them stopped in confusion, turning to look back, fear flickering in their eyes. It was a boy and a girl, but they were not the targets of the scar-faced man. The other child in a raincoat didn't hesitate at all, swiftly weaving through the streets. The wind whipped past her, blowing off the hood of her raincoat and revealing a youthful yet determined face. Catch her! The scar-faced man ignored the 2 stopped children and, along with the other man, charged toward Yuzuna. Although Yuzuna was running with all her might, the speed of a 12 or 13-year-old girl was no match for the robust adult men. In just a moment the scar-faced man caught up to her. Yuzuna gritted her teeth, no longer running forward. Instead she suddenly stopped and swiftly waved her hands toward the rushing scar-faced man. A cloud of extremely spicy chili powder burst from her palms. The chili powder was blown into the scar-faced man's eyes by the wind. He let out a howl of pain, collapsing to the ground, his eyes bloodshot, veins bulging in his hands. Just as Yuzuna prepared to turn and run again, the other man suddenly grabbed her wrist, yanking her back. A fierce wind from his hand whooshed past her ear, and she felt a sharp pain in her cheek, followed by a ringing in her right ear. Blood trickled from the corner of her mouth. A bright red handprint appeared on Yuzuna's right cheek. Her vision blurred, but even so she gritted her teeth and struggled to escape. However, her arm was tightly gripped by the man, and no matter how hard she tried she couldn't break free. Run. The man sneered. Go ahead and run. He raised his hand and slapped Yuzuna's cheek again with force. Lin Chia carried a convenience bag and walked up to the container, gently knocking on the door. No response. Lin Chia raised an eyebrow, deciding not to knock again. Instead, he used his mental power to scan the container, a look of confusion appearing in his eyes. After borrowing money from Mayumi Saika, Lin Chia had bought some food and daily necessities on the way. After all, Yuzuna had saved him from the sea and helped him escape from the police, even allowing him, a stranger, to stay in the container for a night. Lin Chia had always been a person who clearly distinguished between gratitude and resentment. Previously, he had no money and had no choice but to leave, but now that he had money, he felt he should return the favor to both of them. However, he didn't expect that when he returned, neither of them was home. From the arrangement inside the container, it didn't look like they had moved out. They probably just stepped out temporarily and would be back soon. Lin Chia patiently sat down at the entrance of the container, placing the convenience bag aside, and his consciousness sank into the psychiatric hospital of the gods in his mind. Psychiatric Hospital of the Gods. In the dimly lit corridor, Lin Chia walked forward at a leisurely pace. The intermittent screams echoed from countless cells at the end of the corridor, making his eardrums ache. More than 300 mysterious souls were imprisoned here. Shut up. Lin Chia spoke. In an instant, all the mysterious screams ceased, and the entire underground prison area fell into a dead silence, with no sound escaping. In the depths of the corridor, in the more than 300 cells, every mysterious turned their heads, silently watching the figure walking calmly with hands in pockets. Lin Chia looked around. The cells holding the mysterious seemed endless, and various mysterious stood behind the cell doors as if facing a great enemy, making his head spin. So many. Lin Chia sighed inwardly. How much time would it take to deal with all of them? Lin Chia walked to the first cell door and looked inside. There stood a black giant from the Klein realm, wielding 2 electric skulls as weapons, grinning menacingly at him. Behind it floated a void panel. Criminal, Soul Reaper Black Ghost. Choice. As a mythological creature you personally killed, you have the right to decide its soul's fate. Choice 1. Directly erase its soul, causing it to completely vanish from the world. Choice 2. Allow it to reach a fear value of 60, and you can hire it as a hospital aide, providing care for patients while offering you some protection. Current fear value, 5". After reading the text, Lin Chia narrowed his eyes slightly. Roar, roar, roar. The black giant sneered at Lin Chia, extending its hands and banging heavily on the cell bars, like a gorilla trapped in a cage, continuously roaring. Do you want to live? Lin Chia said calmly. Roar, roar, roar. Oh. Lin Chia gently raised his hand, and the black giant, which had been arrogantly banging on the cell, suddenly froze. Its aggressive roar turned into a mournful scream as it swelled rapidly like a balloon. Seconds later, in front of all the mysterious imprisoned in the cells, this Klein realm giant exploded into a pile of flesh. The walls of the cell quickly devoured the blood and flesh, like a bloodthirsty monster. In an instant, the black giant had completely vanished, leaving not even a trace behind, as if it had never existed. Some blood splattered onto Lin Chia's white coat, quickly seeping away as if the coat absorbed it clean, leaving no trace. All the cells fell into silence. In the midst of the silence, Lin Chia slowly walked to the second cell door. Behind this cell was the white bear that could traverse the void and had knocked away Jelon and Ankinju. This white bear had witnessed the entire process of the black giant's death and now wore a look of vigilance, taking a step back and staring intently at Lin Chia, as if facing a great enemy. Lin Chia glanced at the panel behind it. There were only 2 important pieces of information. One was its name, Void White Bear, and the other was its fear value, which had skyrocketed from 9 to 63. It seemed that the death of its Klein realm companion had quite an impact on it. Lin Chia adjusted his glasses, the lenses reflecting a pale light, and spoke. You want to live?